Okay. We're
We're
live.
live?
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is so exciting, everyone. We've decided to go live. We meet weekly, but this time we said we're going to go live because we want to engage more with our audience, because we want to feel more connected with you all. And feel free to share your comments, your feedback. Hold on. I hear my echo. Okay, I think it should be okay now. And so that we feel more connected with you all and feel free to engage, as I was saying. Let me do a brief introduction. This is Arlette. I'm a parent coach as well as a mindset coach, and I live in Cyprus. And these are my friends, my colleagues. What should I call you guys? I don't know what to call you. Soul friends online. You're not definitely more than online friends, but we are all coaches specialized in different areas from all parts of the world. Not all of us are here today, but I'm just happy to introduce you. This is Women in Wisdom. We meet weekly and we discuss about different topics. What we want to focus on is the struggles that our clients go through, because we want to give you input, we want to give you insight, and we want to help you as much as possible. But we wouldn't know what you need if you don't send us or give us feedback. So today's session is about guilt. Guilt is a big emotion that we all go through. Yeah. To some extent, feeling guilty is good because it means that you have conscious and you have feelings and you feel things. But when it's out of control, it can create an imbalance in you and some difficulties in you. So, welcome everyone. Great to have you here with us.
Good to see you all.
Hi, Camila. So, this is our first session that we're doing live.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
No guilt in that.
No guilt in that. So, Camila, when I said about guilt, and you said, yeah, it's a nice topic. Um, what do you understand about guilt, and how do you deal with guilt if you're aware of it?
I do deal, and it takes time, and it's not a piece of cake. And I wanted to move on with this topic very, very much because I have a story for all our listeners. You guys know that, but I think I want to share this story with everyone who's struggling with a feeling of guilt and everyone who wants to protect her own or his own and the family. And the story is as follows. Not so many years ago, one very important person in my life asked for the divorce. And it wasn't a bad idea and it wasn't a bad news because I was divorced mentally for many years already. But I was not ready for that anyway. And all my body, not my mind, all my body said, I don't agree for that. And all my mind said, fuck, I am the negotiator. I am a relationship expert. And I am asked for the divorce. And I am a mother of 4 kids. And I am asked for the divorce. Me. How is it possible? And all my body said, I don't agree for that. And like in the book, like in the handbook for psycho-oncologists, 9 months later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I had to go through very difficult and health taking treatment. Well, it was life saving, we could say. Today, I wouldn't go through that and I would look for different ways, which absolutely doesn't mean that don't take the chemo treatment. I don't say that. I say that today, with all my knowledge, I would take a different decision. Nevertheless, it was so much about guilt and the price for feeling of guilt. And what I want to say is mind that we are not the masters of all the circumstances. And we take the best possible decisions in every moment of our life, best possible for that moment. And what we know today and what we feel today is slightly different to what we felt and we could do that time. And it really is aimless to feel guilty for the decisions you've taken that time, because today you're a different person. And today you have different circumstances and different powers and different knowledge and different everything. You're a different person. And don't blame yourself for the past. Fix your future. This is what you can really, really you can do. This is what I wanted to say, and that's why I was so enthusiastic about this topic.
Camila, basically, you're saying that we take decisions based on the awareness that we have at that particular time of our life. And when we always look back, there is always something to learn from every experience. But while you're in it, your mind, your emotions are so hyped that you take decisions based on your current circumstances. Thank you for sharing with us your personal story. Your guilt, it was a decision that was, you had to take a decision basically to move on with your life, but then you had to deal with the guilt. The guilt was um, towards yourself. It was more directed towards yourself. Maybe I should have done better. Maybe I could have fought more. Maybe I could have done it in a certain way. What about the kids? What about this? What about that? So all those emotions on its own is a complete recipe to for emotions to be over stimulated, and then the
Yeah,
mind starts taking you to, you start feeling guilty, and then of course a lot of people act on their guilt. It's a different story, because what do you guys think? Don't you think that guilt is a big part of our life? It's just that because we have awareness of it, we deal with it differently, because you can either overindulge if you have guilt over, let's say, if you're not doing enough, not spending enough time with your kids or with your partner or whatever, you may end up feeling guilty, and you may compensate by overindulging them. Or if you have high expectations of yourself, then you can never meet, then you can never meet that expectation, then you feel guilty, and then, so what do you guys think about this?
As I was listening to you give all those different options, and then Camilla, your very, heartfelt experience. I have my own personal story with guilt as well, but around loss. And it just like whatever it does, I think the energy behind it when I look at it is it really severs you from your soul. There's such a disconnect that happens, whether it's little, nicks that you're making, or it's one big guillotine that happens in a moment of trauma like I experienced. And it takes a while to come back from that. And the repercussions, for me personally, were very physical, and for Camilla as well. So I think depending on, you know, how significant you feel the guilt can really have a physical, healthy, imbalance in your body. And I think we might all experience it from one degree to the other, but it really feels when I look at it like it's a you're unplugging yourself from yourself, because the emotions underneath that are so intense and so painful and so uncomfortable that the only way you know how to do it is just to disconnect from yourself. But the guilt is in, it's kind of this vicious cycle, right? Like, we want to disconnect from the pain that we're feeling, but the guilt also keeps us feeling the pain because it's going to materialize one way or the other. And so, how do we stay connected in the midst of pain? I think was really like a way that we can maybe, navigate this very painful, challenging place that we might feel, depending on the levels that we're experiencing it.
Yeah, Brie, because even for me, guilt is a common emotion that I experience because I have high expectations of myself, especially when it comes to my kids. For example, I want to do everything. I want to make sure that I show up 100%. I want to, this perfectionism and all that. And but when I started working on myself, I started asking questions to my, am I doing it because I'm feeling guilty, or I'm doing it because I want to do it? Because if I'm doing it, and the answer is, every time I ask myself and the answer is, I'm doing something because I'm feeling guilty, then consciously I stop it, and it's very challenging for me to stop doing what I want to do because I want my fixation. And I stop it and I say, just hold on for a minute. If you're doing it out of guilt, don't do it. If you still want to do it after 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, then go ahead and do it. But at least take conscious decisions, because if you are all the time taking decisions because you're feeling guilty, you're not coming from a good place, and the messages that you're giving is not going to, it's not going to resonate in a way that you would want to resonate to the people that you're giving, because you're either spoiling them or you're giving wrong messages and you are not coming from a good place. But since I know myself and I know that it's a common feeling that I experience, now with my awareness, I am able to stop myself by asking questions. Why am I doing it? What's the intention? Am I doing it for me? I'm doing it because I'm feeling guilty, or I really want to do it. And there are no other expectations attached to it. So to our viewers, I would say that if you don't know how to handle your guilt, this is one tip that you can do. Just stop yourself and ask yourself where this guilt is coming from and what's the intention. What about you, Arta? What are you thinking? I see you in thoughts.
Oh, guilt is an emotion that I haven't experienced really intensively, like like you described this experiences. But what I feel every now and then, where I encounter it, is when I break some of my commitments with myself. So I make a commitment, and then I wake up in the morning, and I wanted to wake up earlier, and I see, oh, it's 10 o'clock and I wanted to be jogging at 9 o'clock already, for example. I had the situation today, actually, because last night before falling asleep, I wrote down my day today, everything that I do today. And it started at a certain time and with exercising. And I woke up too late. But because I am actually, so I'm creating my life and also my business, and my mission is now to help people to create their business and their life as a vehicle for self-love. So I am embodying this mission, which is amazing mission. So instead of beating myself up that I woke a little bit later, I was so gentle with myself, and I just dropped into this timeless space, and I went outside for the jog right away. And then suddenly, I had time for everything, for exercise, for painting, for all things I want to do. So without feeling bad that something didn't go exactly like I wanted, I still find flexibility to do the important things, like to fulfill my commitments to myself, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes instead of 1 hour of exercising, for example. I don't know. I think it's important to have the softness around those commitments and be gentle with ourselves to strict and gentle at the same time. Because commitments are very important, you know, we don't want to mess around with them. We want to be committed to our important things in life. So do it in a gentle way. That's what
It's
comes.
interesting what you're saying, because you're saying your guilt comes from not doing something or not showing up. And when you're talking, this thing comes to my mind because I kind of know where this comes from. It comes from society, it comes from our parents, and it comes from our teachers, because the expectation is, even when you're not feeling that great, and the only time you miss school is when you're physically sick. But if you
Mm,
are not feeling well, or you're feeling down, or emotionally you're not well as a kid, you still have to go. It's not even a matter of question. Nobody's going to ask you for that, and the expectation is to show up. And if you don't show up, you feel guilty that you haven't done the work, or for some reason you haven't done the work when you go back, but you have to do the work, you have to do your homework, which I understand. But the way the messages that the society gives us while we're growing up is that there is no self-care. No matter what happens, you need to show up. And if you don't
mm,
show up, you will be labeled, or you will not be accepted, or you will be rejected. So you really need to show up no matter what happens. So more or less, this is what comes to my mind. And now you, at in adulthood, you have to do your conditioning to explain to yourself and to train yourself that, no, hold on for a minute, it's okay, I want to be more gentle with myself, I will still achieve everything that I want to achieve, but without guilt free. It's
But I have another conclusion about that. It's also about reliability for ourselves. I say to myself that this week I'm going to. Arta, I'm struggling with exactly the same topic now. Waking up, getting up. I promised to myself that I'm going to go to sleep every day this week at 9:30. And I fall asleep or not, I'm going to be in the bed at 9:30, and it doesn't happen. And after that, after 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, I blame myself. Damn, what the hell's going on? You promised that to yourself and you're not doing that. Reliability to ourselves. Are we
Mm.
able to give our the promises that we are able to keep it, right? To fulfill it?
Having realistic expectations, being gentle. Michaela, you're nodding, what are your thoughts?
Oh, really? I didn't notice that I'm nodding, but
Or
that's
in my
very that's
imagination,
very
maybe.
interesting. Yeah,
Maybe in my
but
imagination.
really, I also
Mm.
love this topic because several weeks ago, and not several weeks ago, yes, I somehow started with this topic because I noticed that for me and what I want to reach, I think it's really important to somehow heal the things where I am put guilt on myself. So, and I am with a teacher, and she was telling you feeling guilt even about stories you have that where you were in circumstances as a child. So, for
Absolutely.
example, I had a pet. It was a guinea pig. So, and it was ill. And my father said to me, "No, we have to go to the dentist. We can't go to the pet doctor." So, and I know something was wrong with this pet, and I wanted to help them. And when we come back from the dentist, he has died.
Oh,
And I put
heavy.
so much guilt on myself
Mm,
that I didn't help this little one.
mm,
No. And I was crying, and I feel how
mm.
often maybe we put the guilt in our childhood. Even we want to protect a friend that was
Yes.
was shouted from her or his parents on him. And I there were coming up so much scenes in my life where I noticed I put guilt on myself. And why do I look at that? It is because I ask myself, why I don't get that what I really want, building up my business. Why doesn't it work? So I come over this topic of guilt. So if you are really feel that you deserve all you want, and then we come back to this energy point, you already have everything you see in your sight and in yourself. Everything you do, everything your desire is really true, and it is there for you. But why can't we see that? So for me is somehow the solution of wearing this energy, this vibration of guilt in myself, even when I don't notice it. Yes. And I could go for the vibration and the energy I want to be in. But maybe I have this idea of when there are still these energies somehow in my field that are not healed or not clear or not yeah, whatever, put out of my energy aura or whatever, then I it's more difficult for me to hold this energy where I want to be. Is that do you understand what I mean? So for me somehow is the path, and maybe every one of our own have to find his own path, what we need to work on to stay in this energy where we want to be. That's because somehow it's really easy, because we have all what we really desire. But why couldn't we see that in the 3D world? Why isn't it there? Why couldn't we connect with that? Why couldn't we connect with this amount of money we want to have? Why couldn't we connect with this amount of clients we want to have? And going through these questions for myself, I find somehow this staying in a while with this energy, in this energy I want to be, and I'm connected with this energy, and I love this energy. Oh, there's everything fulfilled in myself, and then it's coming from the I can see it outside. Maybe it is there, and then I fall off. But why I fall off is also for me a question. And there I find somehow these guilt topics. And if you broke a glass, if you break a glass from a friend, you can say, okay, I buy you a new one and everything is fine. It is the balance is back. But if there are topics in your life, you can't put a balance. Even things that are not able to, where you can do anything good for that. Maybe your children are psychologically ill because of the father they have. Even in my case, you can't do anything. You can't put guilt on yourself why I have choose this father for my children, but I didn't know in this moment where I choose him. So, and I
Of course,
can't
you can put the guilt on yourself. I do that
again.
every day. Of course, you can put the guilt on yourself, but the question
Yeah,
is
you
if it.
can put it, but it isn't good, because you have that's if you say, okay, the soul of your children have choose this one to learn something in this life. I don't know, that's also a theory. Your soul is choosing the family you are born in. So, and
This
then the path is somehow for me also to find out what is the story of my family. And this is the one there is the biggest learning in for myself. And the children, they also have to find their own path, and you are not guilty choosing this dad, because the soul of the children have chosen this family because they want to learn something, or they want to grow in a way they have chosen before they get born. So it's also a theory and models or whatever, and maybe you have to find your own model or path or whatever to work on. But for me it is really clear that this why we are here in this, I don't know what it is, but the sense, somehow you have to find your own sense in life. and you have to make your life in a big sense for your own, and you have to find your own path. You even can't put your children on your path. They have to find their own path. Maybe it's something completely different where you are going, and you well, for me, as a mother, my and I'm also somehow have to work on my guilt topics, but for me it is to help them to find their own way. It is not to tell them you have to do this or that or whatever. I am here as a mother to help them somehow to find their own way, and they
Mhm.
have to come to me and ask me, and not I'm telling them, oh, I know what it is about. It is even when you tell them, so in math, the solution, so they don't learn something for that, how
Mhm.
to get to this solution. So
So
yeah.
so hearing you, Michaela, what you're saying is that, yeah, you, of course we're gonna experience feelings of guilt, but at the same time, with our reasoning mind, we should be able to shift those emotions, not to dwell on the emotions of guilt, and find reasoning and find explanations, any explanations that works. You believe in this one, that and others might believe, whatever it is, find your way to handle those guilt feelings, because we know very well from numerous research that guilt is one of the feelings, one of the emotions, one of the heaviest emotions, and is the worst type of vibration to have over the years. This is, it's something that traps your energy, and it can lead you to sicknesses, to a lot of sicknesses, and it's very important to get rid of feelings of guilt, especially the ones that come from trauma, traumas from childhood, from experiences, from divorce, from anything. It's very important that if you are listening to this podcast, and you realize that you're carrying a lot of guilt, it's very important to work on those guilts. And generally speaking, the best way to work on those guilty feelings, to get rid of them, is to start talking about them with a mentor or with a coach, because as I've said, over the years, it's going to weigh you down. Those negative feelings of guilt, which is so heavy, it's going to definitely weigh you down. You need to get rid of any feeling that is no longer serving you.
I want
So,
Caroline, I just want
Bree,
to talk about two things that I did that successfully helped me
yeah.
navigate the guilt that I was carrying because it was making me physically ill. And I was in so much pain as a result. And I had a breakthrough moment at one time. And basically, what I realized is that the story I kept telling myself was keeping me in that state of mind of feeling guilty. And I kept replaying that story over and over and over and over and over. Right? I'm sure a lot of us who have guilt, whatever it is, we're revisiting that, you know? And so I realized that I'm the only one who's telling myself this story. So when I had that realization, I was able to separate myself from the story. I said, okay, this happened. I don't need to keep replaying this. My pain levels went down, significantly. And then the second thing is the practice of forgiveness. Forgiveness, I find, is to be one of the most sacred practices there is for it. To me, it's like spiritual sage. It just cleanses and purifies your field. And even if you're carrying guilt from ancestral patterns that you don't have a conscious awareness of, you can still utilize the practice of Ho'oponopono to cleanse the ancestral lineage of this guilt that you've been carrying down generation after generation. A lot of what we carry in our cellular body isn't even ours. A lot of what we think aren't even our thoughts. A lot of our beliefs aren't our beliefs. So guilt is one of those ways where we're operating out of harmony with who we really are. And when we bring our awareness to the stories we're telling ourselves and bring the power of forgiveness into our lives, however you resonate with forgiveness, those are two really I'm going to say simple ways, and they're profound, and it takes a little bit of, attention and gentleness and compassion for yourself through this process, but you will be able to reconnect yourself to your soul.
Hmm. It's. I'm glad you brought this up, Brie, because we know that when people are dealing with their guilt, they also have to forgive. They need to go through all the whole through the art of forgiveness, which is and all those things that you said. So it's really important. Thank you for bringing that up. Before we move on and we close, last thoughts, tips for our viewers, anything you want to add before we say goodbye and see you next week? Anything else you want to add?
I want to repeat after Bree that Ho'oponopono is working.
Okay. So that's a great tip.
Nodding. Yes, I agree too.
Yeah. Okay. All right then. See you all next week. Thank you very much. If you're watching now or if you're watching later, please share, subscribe. We would love to hear your comments, your feedback. And if there are any topics that you want us to cover, please let us know. You can find us all on social media. As I've said, we are all coaches. The topics that we usually talk about is the topics that we usually deal with or help our clients with. So approach any of us. As I said, we are all specialized in different areas, but we have one thing in common. We love helping you and we love connecting with you, and we want to make a difference in your life. Thank you all once again, and see you next week.
See you. Ciao, ciao.